Welcome to Museum Matters livestream. Hello from Binondo, I'm Janine Cabato, your host for our 6th episode on Museums Matter. Today's topic looks at a specific digital museum as an online resource for learning, teaching, and advocacy. Our speaker is Dr. Maynardo Mendoza, Program Director of Ateneo Martial Law Museum. This is an apt topic considering that this month we are looking at 48 years since President Ferdinand Marcos signed Proclamation 1081 declaring a nationwide martial law. Our speaker for today will guide us on how martial law history could be taught in the virtual classroom. Dr. Maynardo Mendoza is currently also a lecturer at the Department of History at Ateneo de Manila University. He was also former director of the Ateneo Center for Asian Studies. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in economics at the University of Santo Tomas, a master's degree in Asian Studies, and a doctoral degree in Philippine Studies at University of the Philippines. Before entering the academe, he worked with the basic sectors, where peasants, workers, and urban poor were with him and close with him for 2 decades. His interest in martial law started when he was a student activist, coupled with his long interaction with actors and institutions of that era. Among his research interests are the intersection between memory and history, transitional justice, and reparations. Please all welcome Dr. Maynardo Mendoza, or as his students would fondly call him, Sir Roy. Hello, Sir Roy.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Thank you very much,
Welcome to
Ja.
Museums Matter po.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to speak. Thank you, Ja, for that very generous introduction, and welcome also to Beverly. So and also to our listeners for this webinar. Well, the first thing talaga is thank you. I'm happy because many people are very much interested in commemorating the 48th anniversary of martial law, and at the same time, trying to recall no, the pain, the suffering, and also the contributions of those who lived during martial law. So I'll be talking to you today, both as a historian and shall we say, a participant of that era. I was very much affected by the martial law period. It's very vivid to me. So as we go along this short presentation, I'll tell you more. I'll tell you also stories, no, personal stories, and hopefully, ano. So I prepared a very short presentation. It's the Ateneo Martial Law Museum, how it came to be, and I think we have a teaser, no? Yung the teaser that I gave you is there. Can you go to a library during quarantine restrictions? Well, of course, the obvious reason is even in GCQ, parang hindi pa yata. But anyway, it's good that there are a number of digital museums that are available to both students and teachers. So yung ating pag-aaral ng martial law is continuous. So let me start. Okay, so I'll be you can see naman my title page. So I prepared a short presentation, so we'll have more time for open forum or question and answer. Okay, so for this sixth session, I think you talk about museums. So it so happened that I came across Bev and then later Ja, not in Ateneo but at the Binondo Chinatown Museum, where I always bring my students. And they asked me to, why don't you speak about the Ateneo Martial Law Museum? After all, it's September, the month of uh, uh, a month related to martial law. So let me go ahead. No? Why was AMLM established? I was not here. I was not the first director. In fact, I'm the third director. I assumed the position only late last year, around September or October. October, I think. October. So in 2017, as you all know, there was this a very big issue. No? After several attempts at putting Marcos at the libingan ng mga bayani, the current government finally decided to bury Marcos. No? So it generated a lot of pushback, a lot of resistance. Even I was not, I was surprised. No? My daughter, yung aking bunsong anak, well, she's not overtly political, but when when that happened, she went out to the streets signifying her yung kanyang protest over this. So yun, that was one big impetus, yung Marcos burial at the libingan ng mga bayani. So as we all know, the current buzzword today is revisionism. So we see the attempt of the former residents of Malacanang to retake power. And ang kanilang cookbook, or shall we say recipe, includes historical distortions, outright propaganda, and lies. No? Now, gusto ko lang sabihin talaga sa inyo, or let me speak in both languages. No? So gusto ko lang sabihin sa inyo from the start that sometimes we call it historical revisionism, but we still have to see, in the kind of revisionism that we have in the likes of Germany and in Japan, where they revise history. So halimbawa, in Japan, some of these so-called revisionists question the role of the massacre of Nanjing or yung comfort women in Germany, the role of Nazism. We have not seen that kind of revisionism at par, with those of Japan. Rather, ang nakikita natin, mga one-liners, propaganda, outright lies, the golden age, etc., etc. Well, I mean, again, ang sa akin, for me, if they want to present their vision of parang their narrative of history, then by all means, it's very necessary. I mean, it's important also. I mean, let me get back to that in the next slide. So the second one is it's an assault on the nation's this assault on the nation's collective memory is also buttressed by the lack of education, knowledge, and education about martial law. Even those who teach the subject find themselves inadequate. For many, in many instances, when we come across teachers of Araling Panlipunan in high school and elementary, they would tell us, because we were born after EDSA, we don't know many of these. And in fact, the textbooks are very insufficient, or shall we say inadequate, in trying to address these types of history. So again, pati yung mga teachers, they're susceptible to many of the, shall we say, spins, na binibigay nung kabila. Yeah, it's very common, especially young people, unlike us, because we lived through that era. Whenever we hear mga assertions like those, we already have a reference point. Pwede namin sabihin, tama yan, hindi yan. But for people who were born many, many years after the event, it takes some time, And yun nga, parang they still have to, ask people or look for references, etc. And then the last one, from the point of view of historians, we need to write new stories, narratives, findings, or rewrite or republish the standard texts used in martial law education. Many of the, ito yan eh. So, for example, these are some of the books na, pero mga na-reprint dito eh. Some are smarter than the others. Conjugal Dictatorship, Days of Disquiet, Nights of Rage. Okay? Maganda yan. That's good. And then also we need new studies. Halimbawa, yung Subversive Lives, Stories of Struggle, Sokdem narratives. But we also need to, parang many of the books that we use are 20, 30 years old already. So it's high time, especially for educators and historians like us, to publish new findings, new work, isa sa mga paborito ko dito, ito, the one on the left, 6 Young Filipino Martyrs. I always ask my students to read them, and many of them cry, after reading them. Kasi nga, they were in the prime of their youth, but they gave everything for for the freedoms that we are enjoying. Many of the books that were written at the time focused on agency. Ibig sabihin, the individual. Ibig sabihin, they centered on the Marcos, like halimbawa yan, conjugal dictatorship, etc. Ang ginagawa dito is to parang record many of the actions taken o bakit violent, bakit corrupt, etc. There was a time, ngayon, ang limitations niyan is that if you put blame on the individual, on the agency, medyo it will come to the point na magsiswing yung pendulum no? One time nga sabi nung estudyante ko, tinanong ako, sabi niya, bakit wala namang nagawang mabuti si Marcos? Something like that, no? Now, the point that I would like to make here is that we need to see more of the systemic the system, no? The structures of martial law. Tapos na yung individual no? Marami nang nasulat doon. It's high time we look at the foundations of martial law. Kaya kailangan yan. Okay. Let me go to the next slide. Importante rin yung tinatawag nating inside view, no? And of course, we welcome the works of the following. So, isa dito si Juan Ponce Enrile, a memoir. For a long time, he was in Malacanang. And then we also have Cesar Virata, although it was not he who wrote it, but si Gerardo Sicat. Book came out. I went to UP Press, no? Isa ako sa mga unang bumili. And then it's mga 800 pages more. I think more than 800 pages. And nung pumunta ako doon, there was this guy, medyo matanda na. He was in a cane and he was in barong. And then he was asking the staff, no? Sabi dun sa staff na nagbebenta, how many have bought the book? So tanong siya ng tanong. So ako naman, medyo sabi ko, teka, I'll better go ahead kasi nagmamadali ako and I will pay. Naku, sus Mariosep, I found out it was Cesar Virata himself who was yung katabi ko. So immediately I asked him for a parang dedication of my page. And then of course, we have Inside the Palace from the point of view of both an insider and outsider, no? Kasi nga siya. She's an American, the wife of Carlos P. Romulo. And then yung pinakauna dito, The Rise and Fall of Imelda. Now, ang point dito that I'd like to say is that history is like snapshots, no? So parang kumuha ka ng camera, no? And then you take pictures of So parang you are given a perspective, you are given a parang a window, no? At that moment. Ngayon, history is neither good nor bad. I mean, no. Neither right nor wrong. There is only good history and bad history. Importante, no, na makita natin both from the outside, both from the inside, from various perspectives so that we have a holistic view of history. Okay? So again, yung multiplicity of opinion, multiplicity of perspectives, mahalaga yan. Okay? So hindi lang isa dapat ang perspective, kundi marami. Doon natin nakikita yung kabuuan. Okay. Before I go to the Ateneo Martial Law Museum, ang gusto ko lang sabihin is that there are many stakeholders doing the same work or similar work. Hindi lang kami. May mga nauna na at meron pang, may mga sumunod pa. Ewan ko kung familiar kayo dito. In 2013, nagkaroon ng tinatawag na, napasa yung Republic Act 10368. Ito yung reparations and compensation and reparations for Marcos human rights victims. So kung patatandaan nyo, yung mga mga naging biktima ng human rights violations, they were compensated by the CHR yung nauna. But the more important work is memorialization. Ibig sabihin, merong magkakaroon ng museum ng gobyerno. Importante ito because all of the museums on martial law are private. Ito government. Okay? For the first time, kinikilala ng gobyerno na yung recognition. Number one, mali yung martial law. And number two, it is on the backbone and the blood, sweat, and tears of these activists, martyrs, and heroes that we enjoy our freedoms today. Kaya magkakaroon ito ng tinatawag na Freedom Memorial Museum. Where is it located? CP Garcia sa inside the University of the Philippines Diliman campus, right in front of CHED. Last year, nagkaroon ng design competition at ang nanalo itong design na ito. Ang tawag dyan, brutal. Okay? Pero kung mapapansin nyo, well, yeah, sabi ng iba, it's like the Sydney Opera House. But actually, hindi. Ang sabi ng mga architects na nanalo dyan, it's like a feast. It symbolizes a feast. Parang taas kamao, or something like that. Sa taas kamao. So, I think, no, ang plano yata dito is to have this built and inaugurated on the 50th anniversary of martial law. So within 2 years, hopefully, we see ito rising up somewhere in the UP Diliman campus on CP Garcia. Okay? Now, ang aside from the physical infrastructure, ang mahalaga dyan yung loob. No? What are the, shall we say, ano ilalagay mo dyan? Ano yung i-memorialize natin? So ako, nagkaroon ako ng, what do you call this, ambag. I wrote about the Marcos Ill-Gotten Wealth. It will be part of this, but also it is part of the education, no? Yung component o education module being given by the Human Rights Victims Violations Memorial Commission. Marami pa, no? So merong tumitingin sa summer, for example, yung mga massacres, madami. Okay. Let me go to the next. Ito yung hindi kilala, no? But again, gusto ko talagang i-push sa inyo eh. If you're really interested to know more about martial law, what came after martial law, PCGG, right? Well, sometimes hindi maganda for the benefit of researchers, students, and teachers. This site, which is on the left, is a very, very good source of information. Maraming nakalagay dyan, ano? So, pwede yung recovered assets. So, the biggest assets, I think more than 100, close to 200 billion na yung nare-recover natin from the Marcoses. The biggest yung COCO levy funds na binigay ng San Miguel. And then also yung Swiss assets totaling around 50 plus, no? 56 yata, no? 56 million. And then also, nandyan din yung mga Marcos jewelries that are in place at the central bank. And then, ayun, no? May mga ano dyan, may mga, halimbawa, how Marcos, ravaged the banking system, etc., etc. Okay. Ito, this one, you will find interesting. Dun sa ito po, nakapasok na kayo dun sa sa PCGG. It's along EDSA, in front of C building. Okay? Yun yung PCGG. Now, yung harap niyan, ano yan eh? It's a very small building kasi nga dating real estate company yan. Ang nasa likod niyan, that's where the library is located, along with the canteen, along with the administrative offices. Now, pag pumasok kayo sa loob, may isang malaking vault dyan. Yung pinakatatagong lihim doon. Pag nakita niyo yung vault, it's much bigger than a bank's. Malaki talaga siya, nakita ko. And between 2014 and 2015, ang daming records dyan. We were able to get some funds at ako yung napili na piliin kung ano yung mga documents na pwedeng ilagay. So what are inside the so-called PCGG paper? So it's a joint project of the PCGG and the National Historical Commission of the Philippines. Because yung pera namin is not that many, limited. So we were able to, digitize only 600,000 pages of documents. So ano-ano yung mga ano-ano yung mga nakita namin. So ano yung mga naando? So Marcos Library. So and then presidential libraries, and those documents is exist in Malacanang. So ito yung mga naiwan. If you remember, di ba, biglang umalis sila in February of 1986, maraming naiwan. So kinuha to. Ang naging repository nito was the PCGG. And then if you remember, if you recall, nagkaroon ng when they fled to Hawaii, many of the shall we say yung kanilang personal belongings, quote unquote, were shall we say seized by the US Customs. So meron dito mga binalik. No? Aside from that, ayun, no, we have existing and archived cases versus Marcos. We have the working papers of the PCGG commissioners and many, many more. So gusto ko lang kayong, kumbaga, this is just a teaser. No? Ano-ano yung mga nakita namin o nakita natin. You see the picture on the upper right? You recognize that guy? The one holding the rifle? Ja, can you?
No, sir. Pero smiling siya.
Smiling?
Yes.
Yeah. The one on camouflage, nakasombrero.
Opo.
He's none other than Bongbong Marcos. So sa Kalawit
Oh.
yan, they were shooting wild boar at sa hunting trip. Marami, no? Mga personal pictures. So halimbawa, I was able to see, of the three, sinong pinaka, malambing kay Marcos? Si Amy. I saw yung kanyang mga, I mean, she used to write many, mga greeting cards, no? She was very proud of his father, etc., etc. Now, aside from that, also nakita ko rin yung last will and testament. Marami about the Marcoses, yung kanilang mga resibo while they were building ganyan. And then, ang isa pa, another set of documents would be this. You recognize the one, ito, yung upper, on the right side below, the one holding the mic, Jack? The one holding the mic, the one in white shirt, it's Polo. Can you recognize that guy? Naku, bagsak si Jazz sa history. No, I'm just making this
sir,
very informal. Yeah.
During that time, I was, if I remember correctly, I was born 82 pa kasi. I do remember People Power Revolution na. But
Okay.
in my hometown of Zamboanga, the
Si
news was
Klima
not
ko.
as
Si Klima
vivid.
ko. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Si Klima ko.
But,
Yeah.
But in my hometown, the news there was not as vivid as the ones here in Manila.
Okay.
So it trickled down. You know the part where you hold the antenna of the TV?
Yes.
Very 1980s. That was my childhood. So
to get a signal, no? To get a signal, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure many of the of our listeners can recognize this guy. He is none other than Senator Pepe Jokno, the father of Chel Jokno. So, ito yun. This is a rally, MCCCL. This was in reaction to the suspension of the writ of habeas corpus. This was in Plaza Miranda. Now, ang interesting dyan, bakit masyadong ang ganda ng pagkaka-frame? This was taken by intelligence agents. So, ito, report ng NISA. Okay, itong mga top secret reports ito that was given to Marcos. Okay. One of the most interesting, itong paper na to. Don't worry ha. I mean, I will give this PowerPoint presentation to Mega World, and then if you want to access it, I mean by all means ha. The one on the left, yung document, okay. It is kung palalakihin nyo, no? It's by Carmelo Z. Barbero, okay? So actually yung title nito, it's more about Ninoy tsaka yung existing case niya of subversion. Pero towards the end, yung last paragraph, ayun no, you know what was written? Quote unquote, ito yung nakasulat. I have also sent Adrian, that's Adrian Cristobal, the data on the torture of detainees as directed by the President. Signed, Carmelo Z. Barbero, 2/27/78. So, ayan, parang yung mga yan really refutes the fact na walang torture na nangyari. And then Marcos knew nothing about it. Okay? So, mahalaga. But if you ask me, ang dami talaga na very exciting. I really was, parang, I was in a state of, parang, wow, very nice. No? And you know what I saw also? Just to tease you, the, what do you call this? The deposition of Adobe Beams. Meron pala doon. So, nabasa ko rin. But anyway, never mind. It's just a teaser. Unfortunately, hindi pa to open to the public. Ang balak sana dito gawing open source. Unfortunately, ang mahirap pa yung cataloging nito. I can tell you more about that should you wish to pursue that topic. Okay. So another one is Bantayog ng mga bayani. Ito talaga, ang tagal na nito, no? Right after martial law in 1987. I always bring my students here. It's a private foundation. Actually, it's a lot owned by the Napocor. Yung ngayon, SALM. So nakiusap si Cory and then, and then they built a tinatawag na memorial wall. So, sino yung mga heroes and martyrs of martial law? Pag sabi martyrs, namatay during martial law. Heroes, yung mga namatay after martial law. And as you can see, no, if you is easily readable naman, you have Zacarias Agatep, an SBD priest, no? And then you have Benigno Aquino, okay, so Willie Arce, Santiago Arce, Maria Lorena Barros, no? And then you have Billy Beck, a seminarian from San Jose Seminary, etc., etc. So ito, every year, merong mga names na dinadagdag. Okay? Now, at the back, there's a museum. Kaya lang, sarado yung museum ngayon. But the good news is they have an e-library. They have many videos, no? So halimbawa si Evelio Javier, si Salonga, marami pa. And they also have documents. So isa dito yung tinatawag nating Signs of the Times. Marami, no? Surf doon sa kanilang web and you will see, no, na marami talagang pwede kayong makita, pwede niyo magamit, useful for teaching. Okay. The next one, ito Martial Law Chronicles Project. This is private, no? Ito yung kanilang website. In many ways, this is similar to what we do. If you look at their website, so by chronology, so they have 65 to 72, 72 to 81, 81 to 86, 86 to the present, and then present lessons from martial law. Okay? So maganda rin to, although I don't know yung hindi ako masyadong familiar do sa mga nagtatrabaho diyan. I think they continue this. Unfortunately lang, yung prime mover nito died a couple of months ago. Siya si Susan Kimpo, the sister of, maganda yung libro niya, Subversive Lives. Buong pamilya sila, well, except for one, na naging activist. Dalawa yung namatay, may mga nakulong, etc. Susan is shall we say, the prime mover of the Martial Law Chronicles project. But hopefully, we can work with them at some future point. Okay. Probably sa February. Okay. Okay. So, isa pa, lastly, ito. It's a WordPress lang hindi talaga sa website. It's in WordPress. So, Martial Law History Project. Ito naman, project ng Commission on Human Rights, UN Development Program, UNDP, and yung claimants 1081. So, ito more on the case against Marcos sa Hawaii, yung tinatawag nating class suit. Unfortunately, this has, shall we say, dormant, 2012 pa. Although it's open, you can read it, pero the document, parang the website has not been worked on since 2012. Okay, so pumunta tayo dito. So ito yung aming ginagawa. Ito yung aming ginagawa ngayon. So, teka sandali, let me just change screen. I'd like to show you yung... papalit lang ako ng screen. Give me a few seconds. Okay. Okay, wait. And then share screen. Okay. Can you see? Ja, can you see?
Opo.
Hello? Ja, can you see?
Opo, we can see Martial Law Museum website.
Okay, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
You
okay,
can see
okay,
Martial
okay,
Law
okay.
Museum website.
Sorry. Sorry, I need to know kasi baka daldal ako ng daldal. Wala nang palaki nakikita. Okay. So ito yan. This is the website, martiallawmuseum.ph. So this has been started since 2017. It's not easy to, it's not free. In fact, medyo may gastos talaga to. No? So yung Martial Law Museum is anchored on three pillars. Ito, the first one is mag-aral. So to learn or to do research. And yan, we have the beginnings of martial law in the Philippines. You have the end of martial law, lessons from martial law. The other one, yan, teaching resources. So we included yung halimbawa yung ginawa ng National Historical Commission, yung Martial Law Human Rights Victims Commission. And then also meron kami mga private schools na partner, no? So you can teach this in elementary, in high school, and even in college. The third one, yan, manindigan, no? Make a stand. So calls to action, and then yan. So yun yung parang tinatawag naming advocacy. And if you scroll, let me scroll further, yan, no? So ang madami dito earlier, yan. So let's view more, no? Tingnan natin, view more. So you have an educational playing game, grade 11, ayan. And then you have video resources, ayan. Okay, sige. Let's go back, Ayan. Okay. Now, since we nalipat kasi ito sa history department. Kung mapapansin nyo, yung dati, it's a bit kasi dati address ito sa for the general public. So ang style was a little bit more, light, about 1,000 pages, and then parang it tries to cover many things. Nung napunta sa amin, we became more, sabihin natin, historically grounded. So ito yung mga ilang nasulat namin. First is the Marcos Agrarian Reform Program, Promises and Contradictions. This was brought about by, nagkaroon ng exchange si Aimee and si Carlos Dominguez. Sabi niya, we exported rice, no? During martial law. So to set the record straight, ayun, inano namin siya. We wrote about it, no? Kaya promises and contradictions. Okay. Another one, ito yung second ABS shutdown. So it came, we wrote this in May, nung kasagsagan nung pagsasara ng ABS-CBN. So we wanted to tell the audience that this is not the first time it happened. So we centered really on the first shutdown, yung yung laban ni Marcos at saka ng mga Lopez. People from Iloilo knows this very well. And we offered our take on it, no? At bakit sinara yung ABS-CBN. Another one would be, hindi na kilala itong event na to, April 7, ito, the first election. The first election in martial law, under martial law, I mean. So it's April 7, and then dinahiya si Marcos, natalo si Ninoy. So nagkaroon ng rally. Ayan, no? It was, I think, a watershed event. For one, many students went to jail for it, so doon na radicalized. And then also, yung election, yung option to resist martial law, dati balot eh. This was the last time it happened, no? Except 1986. After that, many of the oppositionists shifted to not the ballot but the bullet. Yung EDSA 1986, ito February, we gave new meaning to EDSA. No? Again, pinalawak namin, we made it international. Yung EDSA, of course, ngayon it's under attack, especially under this government. But yung EDSA was shall we say, the blueprint for many of the so-called quote-unquote people power revolutions that happened in 1989, especially in Europe and even in Asia. So malaki yung significance ito kasi many countries were looking at this this event. Ang sabi nga nila, in Germany it took 10 years. In Poland it took 10 years. In East Germany it was 10 months. In the Czech Republic, 10 days. No, again, bloodless revolution, very similar to this. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to prolong anymore.
Sir
Siguro let's.
Roy,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
we have a question from
Teka,
Space
teka.
F. Buensalido.
Oh, can we have the questions later on? Malapit na ako matapos eh.
Okay, sige po.
Sige. Let me just finish the presentation and then we will have the question and answer. Okay. So, just to go back, eto na siya. Ang gusto last points, no? The first one is yung ano ngayon, yung current trend of historical revisionism so-called. And then yung bakit very contentious ang ating history. Last year, I had the privilege to visit Germany at dinalaw namin yung mga Holocaust Museum, Nuremberg. Marami, no? And some of the lessons, some of the insights I had. Takang-taka ako eh, bakit it came 70 years no after the Holocaust. Bakit sabi, ba't ang tagal? 70 years. Very clear, no? I mean, especially for us, outside Germany, it's very clear to us that the Holocaust was something that was, parang hindi na kailangan pagtalunan yan eh, no? Yung record niyan. But then again, ito yung nakita namin eh. There was yung delay ng pagkakaroon ng memorialization was the product of the politics of memory. As you may have parang after the Holocaust, nagkaroon ng Nuremberg. But sa Nuremberg, ang tingin ng mga tao, victor's justice yan eh. No? Ibig sabihin, yeah, that's victory for the Allies. But how about the others? Ang sinasabi ng mga Germans, the Allies were equally guilty of atrocities, no, of massacres, etc. during that time. But how come only the Nazis were punished? So ayun, ang tagal, and then nagkaroon ng, 'di ba, Cold War. So this time, yung mga Nazis, because they were very anti-communist, they became part of the democratic world, so-called. And sila yung parang nakipaglaban sa mga sa East Germans. And then many years later on, after the fall of the wall, after the demise of the Soviet Union, nagkaroon ng, kumbaga, the dust settled, no? And major actors were no longer around. So this time, mas madaling mag-usap about the past. Yung mga contenders wala na eh. No? So the impetus came from descendants asking the role of their forebears during the Holocaust. Yung mga bata, yung mga apo, no? So, ano bang ginawa ng magulang ko, ano bang ginawa ng mga ninuno ko about the Holocaust. And then, importante talaga yung role ng civil society. Human rights organizations, meron isa, yung Nuremberg, yung municipality. But sometimes, ang government is not a dependable partner. Kasi nga, it is subject to the vicissitudes of politics. No? So, yung human rights orgs, private organizations, sila dapat. Lastly, para sa mga historians na kasama natin, the recovery of memories continue. 48 years after martial law, marami pa tayong hindi alam. Marami pang hindi na isusulat. And ito nga ito yung picture na ginamit. Na sabi ko, nakita ko yung picture na ginamit ni Nadja. Sabi ko, teka, I better tell them the story behind it. Ito yon. Late 2018, I was in the US, upstate New York, and we visited yung Merinol Fathers. Meron silang archive. Blessing in disguise talaga to eh. Yung library was open only until 4. Dumating kami, dahil yung mga kasama ko, bagal eh. Dumating kami, 2 o'clock. What can you do? In 2 hours, halos wala. You know what happened? Nagkaroon ng snowstorm. Hindi kami makaalis, hindi kami makalabas. Yan, no, the one on the left. Yan yung picture niya. So we had to sleep. We had to sleep there. We had to pass the night, ika nga. The following day, of course, pinakain naman kami doon. Lo and behold, I was so lucky to, meet yung mga Merinol fathers na na-assign sa Mindanao. Sa Davao provinces sila. Yung mga Merinol sisters, kalat yan eh, but meron silang school, yung Merinol or yung Miriam. The Merinol fathers mostly were in Mindanao. And they told us their stories. No? Nagkataon kasi nandun sila for their annual check-up tsaka annual meeting. And then sabi niya, no, ganito yan. And then pinakita sa amin yung, and ang dami naming dalang documents, no? At sino naman itong aking nasa kanan? I mean the one on my the one on my right. He has the distinction of being the
Sorry, Sir
first.
Roy.
Yeah.
We cannot see the
Yes.
naka-website pa din.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Wait. Teka ha.
We will just be shifting to the presentation again.
Teka. Stop share. Teka sandali. And then share screen. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
It's okay, sir.
Share. Ayan. That's the one. Ito yung yung memorialization in Germany. Wait. Okay. Ayan. So, yan. The role, yan yung one of the picture. Ito, mga babae yan, binabaril yung okay. So, ito yan. So, ito yung nag-snow, yung picture namin na, tingnan ko, the Blessed Virgin. And then, itong priest na to, he has the distinction of being the first missionary to be deported by the martial law regime. Sa Davao siya, del Sur yata, del Norte. He was working in the communities surrounded by Tadeco, yung Tagum Development Company, Big Banana Plantation. And he raised opposition to it. He wrote Florendo. Si Florendo siguro nainis sa kanya. And then he wrote Marcos. And then, he was, in 1974, he was deported. Marami pang na-deport. And there was a time, 26 priests from that diocese of Tagum, including yung bishop, were herded o parang were hauled to court. Okay? So maraming stories. Ito na lang. Lastly, pasensya na kayo, but let me plug this. Meron kaming event on September 21. Ito, Recovering Memories. We have very, very good speakers. The first one is Marian Pastor Roses, and then Rosario Cabardo, and then we also have Brother Carl Gaspar from Davao. So ito, ang title is Recovering Memories, Pursuing Justice. So we talk about yung mga atrocities na hindi pa na brought up to the public and then also written. Okay, so if you have time, please, please visit us. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your patience. I hope I've tickled your. I've added. I mean, you found something from this webinar. Thank you very much. I'll give the mic to Jack.
Sir, we have a question from Joseph Buensalido.
Oh, yes.
He is watching right now.
Okay.
Regarding the multiplicity of perspectives.
Yes.
How should one treat the pro-martial law perspective?
Mr. Buensalido, are you listening? Could you be more specific?
I think, sir, it will take time for him to answer, but...
Okay. Ang short answer ko dyan is this. History is, may discipline yan, may canon. Okay? You have, yung scientific research, the research methods, the historical method, or yung history and historiography as we call it. The short answer there is, yun nga yung challenge ko sa mga Marcos loyalists. If you really believe that Marcos did a good thing, that he was the greatest president that we have, that martial law was the golden era, then by all means write it. Not by one-liners, not by propaganda, but yung historical book. The one that, yung talagang madaling history textbook. My challenge then is, of course, I mean, this is an open space. Hindi ito parang winner take all. Sabi ko nga kanina, we have to have multiplicity of perspectives. Kung tama sila, by all means, let us accept it, no? Again, ang importante dyan, you write it in much the same way as historians write it. Yung a scholarly work. Okay? If you really believe in that, then prove us wrong, no? O kaya prove us, show us, convince us, convince the reader, convince the historian. Pero so far, wala eh. Yun eh. Okay? So, mostly, anong marami? Sa YouTube, sa social media. But I really have to see a book written in a historical, using historical method, that is very convincing. Okay? Yun. That's my short answer.
May follow-up question, sir, on what do you feel about the Marcos burial in Libigan ng mga bayan?
I I don't want to answer that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an impression eh. So I think the answer naman is obvious. And ang idadagdag ko na lang, wag na ako. Wag na ako. Ang of all the of all the sabihin natin articles that I read na I find it parang do you read the Inquirer? Si Ramon Farolan. Si Farolan was is an Air Force general. Tapos kinuha siya ni Marcos to head the BIR and then during Cory's time he became commanding general of the Air Force. Mataas yung niya. And then siya, yung old school, yung father niya was diplomat, siya, etc. Pero sabi niya, in order to avoid to open ng social wounds, baka nga it might be better if Marcos had been buried sa Ilocos Norte. Yun. Okay. Thank you.
Last question, sir.
It's not mine. Yeah.
Last question, sir. Naikwento na po ba yung role ng simbahan during martial law?
Again, we have to be very specific in our in our questions. So halimbawa, which church? The Catholic Church, the Protestant Church, or what church and then ang isa pang doon well siguro just to satisfy the question, marami nang nasulat. And if I were you, ako ang mga paborito ko, halimbawa si Ed De La Torre, meron siyang book na sana ma-reprint, yung Breaking Ground, Touching Root. So yun yung kanyang personal odyssey. What led him to, from Christianity, what led him to become an activist. Another one is si Brother Carl Gaspar, no? Napakadami, Mario Velasco, etc. But then hindi pa kumpleto, marami pang dapat isulat at marami pang i-digitize. And yung question na to, parang kanina yung gusto kong pinag-iisipan ko, after September, anong gagawin ng Ateneo Martial Law Museum? Ako gusto kong bumalik sa sa archives nung School of Theology, Loyola School of Theology. Meron doon yung yung nilathala ng TFDP. Maraming kwento doon hindi pa na nabubuksan. Okay? So again, meron nang nasulat pero marami pang dapat isulat. Okay. Thank you very much.
That's true, sir. If, for example, we are showing the martiallaw.museum.ph. If anyone is interested, for all our teachers and educators out there, we have the lesson plans in. So I think a personal question for me here, sir, is if there are educators who would also like to submit lesson plans that they did on their own, can they submit it also?
Yes.
To
You
the
can
museum?
send you can send it you can. We have a Facebook page. Okay, so
yes, they could also follow the Facebook page.
They could also follow the Facebook page. They could also submit there. They could communicate to us through the Facebook page. And also that's one parang uploading, but also you can download. These are downloadable may mga downloadable articles. Okay, so
That's
you can
great,
upload.
sir.
You can also download. Yeah.
You can also download.
Yes.
This is very necessary for everyone who's transitioning digitally.
Yes.
Also for the digital classroom.
Yes. Tama. Correct.
Thank you, Sir Roy, for sharing all these educational resources with us.
Okay.
Thank you for having us here. In a time where it is easy to distort facts of the past, information like this is really very valuable. So just in case you're interested, we also have a Museum Matters as a channel in YouTube. So you could also follow us there. We will be showing it also in a few slides. Also, for our teachers and educators, we have here certificates from Vival. We are sharing the link at the comment section also. So we also have it in our post. If ever you need certificates, please click on the link. And We are also inviting everyone. So this is our channel, Museums Matter. Early July, we already had Bantayog ng Bayani in, and the title was Against the Infodemic, Educating Truth Tellers in the Disinformation Age. So just in case you would like to have another topic about disinformation, especially with your students in a time when history revisionism is very rampant. So this will be a good topic also. We have quite a number of museums already that partnered with us with Mega World Foundation. So do check the links and the videos in our YouTube channel. Just in case, we're also plugging for September next week. We have Art 101 in the virtual classroom. This is by Rolly De Los Santos, also with Vibal, and Art 101 production, a virtual urban sketch of Miagao Church. This is with Aurelio Castro Jr. So this is very good for students, the Art 101 production. For October, we are also sharing for Chinatown Museum. This is specifically for those who would like to travel but they can't because of the quarantine. We have Chinatown portals. For October 3, we will be virtually going to Manila and Cebu. This is with Lorelai De Viana and Jocelyn Guerra. And then October 10, for London, we have Minji Shu. We will go to Melbourne on October 17. This is with Ethel Villanfranca. Everything is done virtually and on Facebook Live also. So do follow the pages, Chinatown Museum, Bahay Chinoy. We have Sugbo Museum and Chinese Museum in Melbourne. The real name is Museum of Chinese and Australian History, and also Chinoy TV. Thank you once again, and until our next Facebook Live. Bye, everyone.